look bad.
Wait a minute. Somebody's not organized here. We're supposed to have a quiz today at the beginning of class. Did anyone take a quiz?
That's okay.
That's okay.
It was just be him.
Well, clearly the administrative aspect of this class hasn't come together.
Is that my problem?
That was Maria's problem, but she's not here. All right, we'll have to figure it out. Need a victim.
If there's one where we want to do, and where would that have
Theoretically speaking. We've had requests that we keep everything online and don't print out copies and pass them around to save trees and papers and things. So website is acidharma.org, and you just go to course 14, and then all the reading PDF files are there for the homeworks, readings, quizzes, answer keys.
I can show you after if you like, or we can email you the link from here before you go. That will help.
So we'll do the Tibetan, just for the blessing. Please say, this is verse 6, please say Gangla, Daki, Pentakpe, Rewa Chewa, Gangshiki, Shintu Mirik, Nuje Naang, Shenyen, Dampar, Tawarsho.
What verse is that?
6.
Okay, I read the wrong one. Okay,
Can you read?
sure. Verse 6.
This is, I'm not going to do the word for word translation. So,
There may be times when I turn to someone with every hope they'll help me, and instead they do me great wrong. May I see them as my holy guide.
okay. So this verse is addressing a situation. So these are situations you might find yourself in, and then how do you respond, right? So in this verse they're saying, look, let's say you really need something, you're really desperate, you're really in a bind, and you know this person can help you, right? And you finally bring yourself to go to them and say, you know, open your heart, confess, however you want to frame it, and say, I really need your help. I really need you to do this for me. You know, I need this job, and you know, can you please put in a word with your employer? You work there, please put in a word with your employer. They're hiring for this position. I really want it. You know, you go talk to them. You know, and so then they don't do that. In fact, they purposely screw you over. You know, you're really in a bind. They can help you. You know they can help you, and they choose not to. And in fact, they choose to screw you over. They go to the boss and promote themselves for the position and get hired, say, instead of helping you get hired, for example, right? So not only did they not help you, but they made sure that you didn't get it. You know, they just screwed you. They screwed you over. So that's the complete opposite of what you asked them to do, right? And they just so then what? What's the second half of the verse?
Sure, it says, and instead they do great wrong. May I see them as my holy guide.
So then there's the misbehavior and the prescribed activity in each verse, right? So in the last verse, the misbehavior was what? Don't read it. Come on. We just talked about it right before the break. Before you hit your
Jealousy, anger.
Right. So let's just correct that.
So somebody was jealous of you and they undercut you and screwed you over because they were jealous of you. That was what they did to you. And the prescribed behavior was?
Knock it on yourself.
Just let them.
Oh.
With
Not just say it's okay.
Give them the advantage.
With kindness in your heart, think
Love,
love,
kindness, thoughtfulness, understanding,
of
karmic
ultimate
awareness.
nature, things same, then
Geez, like.
I know.
Are you
say hello.
Is to actively help them get what they're trying to get by screwing you over. It's not just like, oh, it's okay, you can screw me over, I'll just turn a blind eye. That's not what they're saying. They're saying, feel love towards them. Feel some kindness and sweetness towards them and help them get it. Help them get the thing they're trying to get by screwing you over.
Why does it have to be like that? Why can't you find it like a middle way?
Which is what?
Always negotiation
Just
and stuff.
But then that's not.
Like them.
You're like, okay, I know what you want, I know what I want, what do you think we can do to be able to figure how we can both get what we want?
It's like, can this be a win-win is what you're saying, right?
Right, yeah, like maybe you get the promotion, but in exchange, it's like House of Cards. How why he's so successful? Because he gets what he wants and what they want.
And it's a movie.
And aren't you hurting them if you're like letting them get away with?
Yeah. So let's look at it karmically. From a karmic perspective, right, because this is the appropriate way to look at it. From a karmic perspective, if you say, you know what, let's try to find a win-win here, right? What are you collecting for yourself karmically?
People want
Equanimity karma.
More of those people.
Equanimity karma.
Maybe. I mean, maybe it's okay. So, you know, the point here is you've got to change your worldview. That's really the point. Okay? The point here is the worldview which says faster, better, stronger doesn't work. You know, the point is the worldview that says I have someone taking advantage of me because I took advantage of somebody else in the past is the way we have to be geared and oriented in thinking. So when you're engaging that person, what do you want to create for yourself in the future? I mean, there's infinite possibilities, right? So
And I think that's the thing. We want the quick, easy answers. Is if I just negotiate every time, I'm doing good. But what you're saying is you have to check the flavor of every single instant of this, and that requires focus, concentration, awareness.
wisdom. Yeah, I mean, so, you know, ultimately you can say, what's the most powerful karmic, virtuous karma, beneficial karma that I can collect for myself in any given interaction and instant? Well, you know, the higher teachings would have a completely different approach, right? Higher teachings would say, you know, see them this way, treat them the other way, treat them. The Sutra approach is, and this is LOJONG, this is a specific LOJONG Sutra approach. A lot of possible approaches, but in this LOJONG, you're saying, this is what you would do to collect a very powerful, appropriate karma. So as an educated Buddhist, you can look at everything, every moment of every day, and assess. But what they're really driving towards here, in my opinion, is saying, normal approach doesn't work. Do the opposite of a normal approach because you want to be the opposite of an ordinary suffering human being. You know, not just for the sake of being opposite, obviously, but because it's karmically appropriate. Okay. So this sixth verse of this Diamond Line LOJONG is saying, look, you go to somebody with the hopes, sincere hopes that they'll help you, and they have the capacity to help you. Not only do they not help you, but they unjustly and inappropriately hurt you badly, right? Then what do? See them as your highest spiritual friend, right? As your teacher, as your Lama. Okay. So, I mean, this is a classic work thing, right? I mean, it's, you know, if you go to an office, you find every affliction, a normal work environment, you find every affliction you could possibly want. I think there's greed, there's perhaps corruption, maybe there's more politics, jealousy, desire, anger, you know, people screwing each other left and right, competing irrationally just to get ahead no matter what, lying because they think it's, you know, it's effective. So, you know, in this normal crucible of affliction is an excellent place to practice and learn, right? It's an excellent place to put one's money where their mouth is. The things you can learn from people misbehaving are vastly greater than the things you learn just being in a pleasant meditative environment or around sweet people who are trying to be lovely all day long.
Like in Boulder.
Like in Boulder? Yeah. If you live in Boulder, everyone's like, hi.
It's all high.
Every day. Yeah, maybe you should be Williamsburg. Anyway. So what he's saying here is that you'll learn things from these people that you won't learn anywhere else, and you'll change, you know, from these people, and thank them, right? You know, in our ordinary lives, we think that, well, maybe things will work out. You know, maybe I'll work hard and I'll get ahead. You know, get a promotion and I'll get ahead. And you know, it's New York City. Life is cool. There's lots of opportunities. You know, maybe if I work a little more, exercise a little more, everything will turn out all right. You know, and then life strings you along, and suddenly something happens. You know, you get sick, you get cancer, you're fired. You know, you lose your savings. You know, in 5 minutes, the whole thing can collapse, right? Sooner or later, life shows its true colors, which is just problematic, dissatisfactory, suffering existence, right? So, the point here in this verse is that This person is doing you a favor, okay? It's not that you just somehow la 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 la, oh, you're my friend, you're so sweet to me, because you tried to screw me when I really need help, or because you did screw me viciously when I really needed your help. And instead of helping me, you absolutely screwed me over and stabbed me in the heart. It's not like, oh, let me just pretend everything's okay and you're really a nice person. It's not. Buddhism is not about, la la la, let's pretend, okay? It's about karma. It's saying, this person is your Lama, they are your teacher. They are your highest spiritual teacher. Why? Because how do we go through life? We go through life thinking, it'll be okay. Things will work out, right? If I just do a little more of this, a little less of that, then I'll get it together. In the end, I'll have a great life, right? It's not how, this is samsara, okay? This is not the nature of our human existence. And we continuously tell ourselves a story that if I just do the right thing, things will somehow work out. It's impossible. It either falls apart sooner or later. It's just a question of when it falls apart, how badly it falls apart, whether it falls apart at death, before death, or every other day. So we're constantly fooling ourselves and deceiving ourselves and running this narrative in the back of our mind that says, oh, I'll just do this, it'll be okay. If I just go over here, it'll be okay. I'll go over there, it'll be okay. A little more of this, a little less of that, it'll be okay. I'll be happy, things will be all right. Not, right? And so we continuously try to find something nice about samsaric existence and samsaric life, thinking that we'll be okay, right? So the verse here is that this person is actually showing you, graphically and directly, that you're screwed. You're in an existence, you're in a realm where things must end badly, sooner or later. No other possibility in an ordinary sense, right? So, we continually hope that things will be okay. And they are throwing it up in our face that we are not living in a realm where things are okay. You're in a realm where things aren't okay. And that's the nature of this realm. And the only solution is to collect the karmic causes to get out of this realm, to attain nirvana or enlightenment, right? So that's what they mean in this verse when they say, see them as your highest spiritual teacher, right, and friend. They are graphically reminding us that we're in a shit place, sooner or later. I mean, look, I had a great 20-year run. It took 20 years for everything to go to shit for me, And it's like, oh, that's only 2 years of suffering, and then it got pretty good again, Oh, now I feel pretty good, And it's like, oh, I have another 2 good years. It's like, oh, now it's shit again, Oh, I'll make a lot of money. Oh, this is great. I'm making a lot of money. Oh, now I'm spending all my savings. Oh, no. And it's like this crazy roller coaster of, it's a great year. It's a bad year. It's a great decade. It's a bad decade. It's just and so it's like you think, well, there's something wrong with me. Well, no. In fact, it's the nature of this realm. It's not me. It's the realm. But still, you got to deal with it, right? And how do you deal with it? Well, hope I can get another good year or two. That's not really dealing with it is the point. The point is the way you deal with it is to get out of this realm and to end affliction and end suffering karmically. And so that's the point of this verse. Okay. Co-workers are teachers. Partners are teachers. Anyone who exists in this life who can irritate you is a teacher. Right? How do you get to nirvana and enlightenment? You don't go to another planet. You don't float off around the backside of Pluto. That's not where it is, right? I mean, is it possible to attain nirvana, at your current job? Yes. Is it possible to attain nirvana in your current relationship, home, house, apartment, whatever it is? Yeah. I mean, that's how it works, right? We continually clean our seeds and clean our mind so we have fewer and fewer things that can ripen into afflictions and suffering. And eventually, that process completes. And we attain nirvana, wherever we happen to be, right? So, any beings that exist in our life who could screw you over are a reminder where we are, and the state of our inner life, and our seeds, and our being, right? They're reminding us that we ain't there yet. It's like, hey, let me remind you, you're not in nirvana. It's like that, right? So, and if they went around like throwing things up in your face, it would take a lot longer to get to nirvana. It's like the baseball bat. It's like, let me hit you over the head. You're not in nirvana. You're not in Nirvana. You're not in Nirvana. Oh, did you notice? You're not in Nirvana. Let me do it again. Next week, you're not in Nirvana. For your whole life. All right, let's move on. So it's not saying pretend that they're your friend, pretend that they're your teacher, Make the distinction. They are reminding you that you're in the shits, pardon me, and that you're not in Nirvana. It's not symbolic, it's literal, okay? It's like that. All right, so 7th verse, please, number 7.
In brief, may I give all the help and joy to my mothers, directly or some other way. May I take all the hurt and pain of my mothers in secret upon myself.
So again, the first half of the verse says, in brief, may I give help and happiness to all my mothers. Mothers is the key word for all living beings, right? Directly and indirectly. So nothing wrong with that. I want to give all help and happiness to all living beings, directly and indirectly. Right? So let's do the first half, okay? So give them health, happiness, everything good that you can conceive of. I mean, it doesn't matter what you can think of. Give them money, comfort, security, relationship, pleasure, food, drink, anything that you can think of, right? And then, take away all their suffering. So the point to talk about, and that's pretty straightforward. The point here is directly and indirectly. When they say directly, that means something you really can do. Let's say you're with a spiritual teacher, like, you study with Olga Michael or Lama Christie or Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and you see problems. There's like students having problems, and it's going to land in their lap. So you take care of it. You go and you take care of it and resolve it so that they don't have the problem. Or whether it's with your kids or your partner or whomever else. There's a problem at work, and you say, oh, this is going to blow up and bite my coworker in the butt. So let me take care of it so that so they don't have this problem. So that's what they mean when they say. You're going to give help and happiness directly, right? It's great service. So even as the other verses were saying, if you lose money, if you lose sleep, if it disadvantages you, you give all help to others, right? So Holy Yeshua Michael is a great example of this. He's constantly giving his money away, constantly doing things for people, helping people, even if he's broke, even if he's got credit card debt. He's like, oh, well, I got $30,000 on my credit card, but I'm helping people all the time. This. Okay. So, you just take care of it. So, and then the second half, may I take on myself secretly all their bad deeds and suffering. And secretly here, the point of secretly is the best, sweetest virtue that you can do is one where you're not gratifying your own ego. You're not getting any other payoff. So there's no other motivation, right? I'm going to help this person and no one's even going to know about it. We'll get into it in a moment. You don't have any other polluted motivation mixed in. It's just like, sweetly, directly, go and take care of these things and not even tell anybody. My coworker's not even going to know I saved their butt. I'm just going to do it and that's it. And it's a great approach. It's one of the sweetest virtues of all is when nobody knows about it. So, and similarly, you give good things to people, and no one knows about it. We moved to Brooklyn, and so we joined the Park Slope Food Co-op, right? You have to work a shift every month. You have to work like a couple hours every month and be a co-op, remember? Because it's co-op. So I'm down there in the basement loading cases under the conveyor belt to go up to be stocked on the shelves and stuff, and there's a bunch of people down there. There's one of the ladies who's on staff. She's like, oh, I lost $20. I really need that $20. I dropped it around here somewhere. Have you seen it? There's like rows and rows and aisles and aisles and huge coolers. And it's like, I haven't seen $20 anywhere. And she's really worried. She's walking around saying, oh, I got that $20. I really need that $20. I got $20 in my pocket. So I fold it up, and put it in the corner, sort of on the floor where she was walking by. And she's like, oh, where's the $20? I was like, my $20. Wow. I didn't have to say anything. It's just like, oh, I felt really good, right? It's just a very sweet thing to just be like, okay, I helped someone. She didn't have any idea. I don't think she had any idea. This is very sweet. It's sweeter to not even mention it. It's much sweeter to not even mention it, to not even know.
Is it totally honest though to not mention it?
Well, I didn't say anything. I mean, I didn't tell her there's your $20, because I wasn't dishonest. I gave her $20, and she thought it was hers. I mean, did she think that it was her lost $20? Sure, but nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I could have given full disclosure, but then, you know, it could have turned into, oh, it's your $20. I don't want the $20. I don't want my $20. And, you know, it was much sweeter for both of us.
But it's more, it sounds like it's really more about your motivation and your intention.
And the fact that it's not about praise or acknowledgement or any other mixed motivation, right?
What about you just telling us that?
Yeah.
I was not going to say that. I was trying.
You would think that way.
What about you telling him and totally destroying the you did.
So then indirectly, when they mention indirectly, they're referring to LOJONG. And this is doing sorry, Tom. So when they say, may I help all living beings directly and indirectly, this is through LOJONG practice, which is a meditation practice. You know, we have things which we don't have capacity for. Can I remove all the starvation in the world? No, not in tangible terms. I don't have the capacity resources. But I can sit on my cushion and I can fantasize about, you know, providing food to everyone in the world and seeing everyone happy and healthy and well-fed and, you know, good bodies and good minds and good educations and having everything that they want. So it's this very sweet, beautiful meditation practice one does, where special meditation where you visualize all the problems that are taking place that exist in the world coming into your heart. You have this brilliant light, and in an instant you destroy all the problems of the world. Very important to see yourself in an instant destroying all the problems of the world, and then you visualize and fantasize that you're sending out on your breath, every atom of your breath, everything that anyone would want, like a you know, cloud of anything that anyone would ever want. Anyone who's sick, having trouble, anything, you know, who's boyfriends, girlfriends, food, medicine, health, happiness, security, you know, enlightenment, that you're sending this out to everyone and they're receiving it just through your intention and effort. So you can do it every morning. So it's a very beautiful practice. When your breath goes out, it's this beautiful white light, like honey which goes out, spreading to the world, everyone in the world, and they get everything they wish for. And you know, they don't know what happens, suddenly they get everything and they're happy. There's a whole study I've been teaching on it. It's one of the meditation topics that you can study on the website.
I think they do that for morning meditations.
They do it here at the morning?
Yeah, mostly every morning.
Oh, that's great. So you can learn it here at the 3 Jewels each morning, or whatever morning they're teaching. That's great. And then thinking that way and visualizing that way creates a pattern which will actually plant seeds to move you towards it happening and becoming enlightened, being able to do those things. Okay, last verse. Verse 8, if you would please.
May none of this ever be made impure by the 8 ideas of things. May I see all things are illusion and free myself from the chains of attachment.
Okay. So this last verse, I'm not going to cover all of it tonight, but we'll just get into the first part of it. And so on your homework, it asks for the whole verse and has questions about the whole verse, so don't worry about it until we cover it next time. You know, all of these ideas that we're talking about, you can say, well, they're great theories or they're crazy Buddhist ideas. But you have to say, you know, whatever we've tried thus far has not put an end to the suffering of our life, so try it, you know. I mean, I think it's very beautiful, it's very holy, and it's the right thing to do. So, Chunky Rinpoche, there's a homework question that, before we get into this last verse, there's a homework question, the first Chunky Rinpoche, he made a big deal about these verses, and when you're doing these verses, there are 2 things he says you have to have going on in your mind when you engage in these LOJONG practices. You know, if you're going to let somebody else get the short end of the stick, if you're going to take the short end of the stick, let someone else have all the gain and benefit, so you need to have 2 things in your mind. Very important. Otherwise, much less effective. First of all, enjoy it. Have a good time. If you don't have some kind of positive mind when you're doing it, it's a very different experience, right? I mean, it's just like somebody saying, you know, clean the toilet because I don't want to, and you're just like, no, I'm cleaning the toilet. All right, it's a very different experience than if you're happily cleaning the toilet, right? Because you want them to be happy. I mean, just practically speaking, that's true of anything, right? So, you know, it's realize this is what's going to get you to paradise and to nirvana and to enlightenment, and that there's this beautiful think of it as a beautiful opportunity to become an enlightened being, this being of light, with the paradisecal existence, which is so profound and that we can't even conceive of how beautiful it is. So, you just, I'll take it and be happy about it, be happy about doing it. No kind of hesitation. Any kind of hesitation is actually very bad, Chapter Rinpoche says. And then he says it's very important not to have any regrets. Not immediately, not 5 minutes from now, not a year from now, not 10 years from now. Very important when you do any kind of virtue, especially a difficult virtue, like giving someone else the job you really wanted, or all of the benefit and all the gain when they're out to get you, right? You can't have regret. It's very important to be proud of yourself, to feel good about yourself, and to acknowledge what you've done. And the mind will say, "Oh, I don't know if you did the right thing. That was a bad decision. That was a mistake." You just got to say, "Shut up," to that part of your mind. It's like, that's wrong, that's incorrect, and it's not virtue. Those thoughts will destroy the good karma. Those thoughts will destroy the virtue that you've collected. So don't blow it. Once you give something away, once you've done something difficult, once you've taken a lot, do it with joy and don't regret it. Right? Okay. So very important. Have those two things in mind. No regret. And if you're going to regret it, then you need to take a step back and reapproach it in a way that you won't have that regret. So regretting virtue is really is not good. All right. So in many respects, better to do a smaller virtue that you don't regret than to do a big virtue and regret it, because then you're you can go on. So this verse mentions eight thoughts. So we need to talk about the 8 thoughts which are in this verse. He talks about 8 worldly thoughts. Can you read one more time? I'm sorry.
Sure. May none of this ever be made impure by the 8 ideas of things, or the 8 worldly thoughts. May I see all things are illusion and free myself from the chains of attachment.
Okay. So he's saying, look, you got these prior 7 verses, these instructions on how to collect beautiful, pure karma and clean up your life and your world, right? How to train the mind. Right? Now he's saying, it's great you're following those 7 prior verses. Don't screw it up by thinking the wrong way. That's what he's saying in the 8th verse. He's saying there are all the different thoughts that you can have in your mind while you're trying to do these other things. And if you have these thoughts in your mind, you're just screwing it up. Don't blow it. So he's saying, don't have these thoughts in your mind while you're trying to do these prior 7 LOJONG verses. Okay? So these are 8 worldly thoughts, and they're translated as please say jikten. Chuge. Jikten is worldly. Chu means dharma. In this case, it means thoughts, and gye is 8. So chu, some people translate it as 8 worldly dharmas, but they're really thoughts. They're 8 worldly thoughts that you have, and when you have these thoughts in your mind, they're polluting your virtue, basically, and undermining your virtue. And the motivation behind them is basically worldly. It's not virtuous or enlightened or beneficial. So there are 2 different ways to translate this verse. One is to take it as the 8 worldly thoughts. The other is that there's another list of 8, which is 8 ways of seeing things as self-existent. There are 8 different ways you can see what's going on as self-existent. And if you look at things that way, then you're messing it up as well. So we'll quickly go through the 8 worldly thoughts this evening, and then next week we'll go through the rest of the verse and the 8 ways of seeing things as self-existent. Right? Okay. Okay, so the first one, I'm not going to do the Tibetan. The first one is being happy if you get something. Okay? Now, again, this line causes tremendous guilt. The first of the 8 worldly thoughts, right? Buddhism says, if you have this thought, you're being worldly. Right? Being happy when you get something.
Taught.
A lot of people get messed up over this, right? Am I not supposed to ever be happy when I get anything? Am I not ever supposed to be happy? Am I supposed to be unhappy that I'm getting good things? What's up? Right? So it's very specific here. If you get a new car, if you hear a good song, if you have a great relationship or a great date, or anything. Are you not supposed to enjoy it and be happy? Is that what they're saying? That's not what they're saying. That's incorrect, okay? That's not the point. All the goodness that comes to us in our life is the ripening of past virtue. You know, if we have a great date or a great relationship or a great meal, it's because we served others in those ways in the past, right? And it's just a matter of saying, this is great. I'm having great stuff happen to me, and I'm really glad that I was virtuous in the past, and I'm really glad that I'm having these great things happen, and it's really enjoyable, right? What they're talking about in this verse is this kind of unrealistic, self-existent thinking, which most of us are subject to, which says like, wow, I met the person of my dreams. Now everything's going to be okay. My life is going to be happy, right? So there's this like self-existent, heightened expectation of happiness, right? Which is like a roller coaster, because then we crash. And it's like, oh no, we're not getting along. Oh no, you know, I had a great meal, but now I have indigestion. You know, or whatever it's going to be. And then there's this thing of like, oh, everything is so bad. Right? Things are terrible. Well, that's the next one we'll get to. So the point is this unrealistic self-existent expectation that says, if I just get these things, I'm great, I'm happy, my happiness will be lasting. So it's self-existent thinking versus karmic thinking, really is what he's addressing here. Right? So no problem to have happiness when the time is right for happiness. Right? It's why we practice, and it's what our goals are. We practice to be happy, we practice to attain ultimate happiness. It's desirable, it's appropriate, we love it, it's good. This verse has nothing to do with the fact that we should avoid music and anything that makes us happy. That's not the point, okay? It's like kids with candy, you know, you give them a candy bar and they're so happy and they're so up, and all of a sudden they crash, you know? Because like then they hit the sugar low, you know? So this is really what the verse is alluding to. There's this unreasonable, excited high or up feeling, and the mind goes too high and then you just fall down. So normal good things in samsara are going to end, are going to collapse, and it's acknowledging them. So this is really saying, you know, have normal dharma happiness, which is acknowledging that the good things are karma, came from karma, enjoy them, appreciate them, know how karma works, know that karma wears out, know that karma changes, move on, be okay. You know, have reasonable happiness and reasonable enjoyment, reasonable pleasure. Don't get so excited about some worldly thing that's going to collapse in a week. You know?
Could you just add ignorantly to that and to all of them, like being ignorantly happy, being ignorantly?
I mean, you could do that. It's an easy way to go through it, right? So number 2 is being upset when you don't get something. So same thing. You know, you get all upset about not getting what you're hoping for. You know, I didn't get the job, I didn't get the girl, I didn't get whatever, and then getting all upset about it, right? Straightforward. The other thing to be aware of in this verse is if you're practicing well, if you're doing deep practice, you can readily and perhaps will accelerate the ripening of your negative karmas because you're cleaning them in a way. So it's also the case that when one is practicing very well, then heavy stuff comes down. You know, and it's a cleaning and accelerating of your karmic pocket, if you will. You know, so your negative karmas can quickly ripen and finish, and you have some disasters in your life. So don't be shocked if something happens in your life. You know, I mean, I sometimes ask myself, does this, you know, when really bad things happen in my life, does this mean I'm practicing really well or really badly? You know, it's like it's one or the other. I'm not sure which, right? So don't be shocked, you know, when things go badly. It's, you know, there's this tendency, I think, to think among spiritual practitioners that it's like, you know, if I'm a practitioner, if I'm spiritual, everything should always be good in my life. It's not true, you know. Especially the spiritual teachers. Well, their life should always be good, you know. Nothing should ever bad should ever happen to them. I mean, it's like if they're a spiritual teacher and if they're some kind of great practitioner, then how could they have anything bad go wrong in their life? Not true, right? So, unless they're, of course, enlightened. But that's another story. So, you know, it takes a steady, sustained, consistent Dharma practice of keeping one's vows, keeping one's book, and you know, everyday events and everyday experiences of life will begin to change into holy things and sacred things. And occasional bad things are going to happen and expect it. And don't get all depressed about it, and don't get all upset, and don't get all bent out of shape, and you know, and understand that it's the nature and function of this world. So, okay. Number 3, being happy when you feel good. So, you know, you have a great meal and you're like, oh, that's wonderful, I feel so great, right? No problem. But we're talking again about doing it in an ignorant way, as a quick shorthand, right? So, Holy Ken Rinpoche used to say, like, he would watch the Mets on TV, and he would say, you know, the guy would hit a homer, right? And he's running around the bases, and he gets to third base, and Rinpoche would say, look at his face, look at his face. You know, that's the third, you know, that's the third one. You know, that's the third worldly thought. You know, you look at his face, and he's like, you know, going for home plate, right? And he's like so happy, you know, he's so great. And then the next inning, he's in the field, you know, and he misses the fly ball, you know, and he drops it, you know, and the crowd's booing, and he's like, you know, he's like, look at his face. That's the fourth worldly thought. You know, he's so unhappy because he's not getting it. You know, if you don't feel good. So it's like that. You know, it's like, don't have this elated expectation, this elated thing when you feel good. This unreasonable depression when you don't feel good. You know, you tend to think the whole world is wonderful when things are going well. I can attest from personal experience. You know, it's like, it's like, oh, everything's great. The world is great. You know, this real sort of whole up-elated feeling when you're healthy and you've had a good meal, or you've had a good day, or you have a great thing happen at work, right? And then when you don't feel well and you're grumpy at everybody, like your back hurts and you're like short-tempered with people, or you have a cold, right? And you know, when you're treating people badly because you have a headache or your body's not well. So this is what these next 2 verses are talking about: being happy when you feel good and unhappy when you don't feel good, right? When you don't feel good, you feel justified and righteous and like being short with people or being grumpy and gruff with people. It's like the world owes you something, right? So a real Dharma practitioner practices with loving kindness whether they feel happy or bad, I mean, whether they're sick or whether they're not sick. There's this consistency to one's practice. There's this consistency to one's loving kindness, whether you're having a bad day, whether you're having a good day. You know, whether people are complimenting you, whether people are criticizing you. You know, whether you have the best meal of your life or the worst day of your life. You know, is to have this consistent loving kindness to people in all circumstances and all time. Whether you're feeling good physically, whether you're in pain physically, whether you have joy. You know, it has to become independent of those feelings. You know, one's behavior as a true Dharma person has to become independent of those feelings, right? So that's 3 and 4. Number 5 and 6, being happy if you become well known, being unhappy if you're not well known. I mean, karma is infallible. You'll never get anything good unless you cause it, and you never get anything bad unless you cause it, right? So don't get too excited about being famous or infamous. You know, I mean, like, oh, I got written up in the magazine. You know, oh, people are talking about me. You know, I'm really doing well. You know, people know about me. Lots of people come to hear me talk. You know, I feel so good. I feel so happy. You know, and then like nobody cares. Nobody shows up. You know. Nobody's really meditating. Nobody's really practicing. Nobody's buying my product. You know, so either or. You know, it's don't fall prey to these highs and lows based upon being recognized or not recognized. You know, I mean, who's the latest famous girl? Miley Cyrus. Why is Miley Cyrus famous? You know, I mean, you have people. You have people who are famous for whatever reason. I won't go into it. But then you meet other people who are very pure and very holy and very noble, and you know, nobody pays attention to them, and nobody cares about them, and nobody gives them their due, and they die anonymous. You know, so the whole thing is the whole idea of what the true cause is karma. You know, just be pure from now on, and don't worry about whether people are praising you or whether you're not well known. You know, at work you get praised for things you didn't do, and you criticize for things you didn't do. There's no real apparent causation there, right? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So don't get hung up on it. So that's number 7 and number 8. Don't being happy if you get praised and being unhappy if you don't get praised. Just keep your vows, right? In every single situation, do the right thing dharmically. You know, be virtuous, be ethical, and you know, in life will improve, right? I mean, one day people think that you're a genius, and the next day they think you're an idiot. And there's no obvious connection, no obvious correlation. So don't get too worked up or too depressed about people praising you or blaming you or becoming famous or not becoming famous. So, I think the last thing to say is that, you know, as a synopsis, these verses are saying respond to everything with this kind of pure LOJONG mind, you know, and do everything with a virtuous heart, without paying attention to the apparent conventional causes, and don't confuse the garbage from the past, which you can't do anything about, which is now ripening into your circumstances, with creating a Buddha paradise in the present moment. You know, in the present moment is when we create our Buddha paradise. And we are collecting the karmic seeds moment by moment in the present, which will ripen into our Buddha paradise. And so, you know, we have that option, and that's what LOJONG is all about. It's about saying, right now, I have to be virtuous. You know, I have to do the right thing and not have the ordinary human response. And that will bring me happiness and joy and nirvana and paradise in the future. So, a brief dedication.
Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami Gadi Gokve Sinam Yashe Tsatsakshyan Sinam Yashe Lejen Hui Damba Punito Parsho.
By the power of this vast act of studying and asserting our intention to benefit all beings and give every goodness to every living being, may we quickly attain every fruit of the path, and may we quickly end every suffering within ourselves, every other living being, may full enlightenment be achieved in this very life. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you for the roses. So I don't anticipate any other breaks in the schedule between now and the end. So we never did an email list, but I suppose everybody here is on the 3 Jewels list, and we can just send it to
If
them.
you want to be part of any changes to the schedule or the videos, come and see me now, and I'll connect you via the Facebook, so you can get updates, change of class dates, times, emergencies, whatever.
By the Facebook?
The Facebook, it's a new application on the internet.
Should I,
You would like to? Let me get into the Facebook. In the 3 Jewels.
we didn't do the quiz before class. If you don't mind, just print out the quiz and do it at home.
So what I can do,
Yeah.
are you already part of this or did you? I think you must have, right? Let's have a look. I'll go to events here. If not, look this up, right? ACI 14.
Great.
Really?
Oh no, see, there's Thursday.
It's really slow, so let me have a look.
But I can
So,
just like, I can just follow
let's
it,
have a
right?
look. Oh, I can't see all of the guest lists because, no, I can't see all the guest lists. You haven't, so let me just invite, I'll share it
Okay.
on your, no, I have to go in a sector and invite you as a person because the 3 Jewels won't let me do it. Okay.
This new technology is very complicated.
It's the future, no. And I'll share this.
Technology of the future is so...
complicated.
So you're sharing it on yours.
And I'm sharing it to you as a message, check this out.
Okay.
On a friend's timeline, here we go. L.
WH.
There you are. And you are Paul. You'll have to do it to you separately. Share link. I'll invite you. Are you just moving only because I chose the wrong way to do it? Yeah.
I'm starting a salary office job on Monday for the first time in 20 years. And I just keep thinking, oh my God, I need to practice moving all the time.
There's a link that I can,
Yeah, I'll show you. So if you go to, let me first of all ask Hector from you.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. What's your last name?
It's Schumann, SCHUMANN.
Is it any of those? That one? Okay, go there. I'll add you as a friend request. When you accept, you will go to my page and just click on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's an open thing. The other thing that you could do is go, and you should do, 3 Joules NYC along with the face.
Yeah.
And if you become a liker of that, it's under our events.
Okay.
So then you'll get a notification of whatever event you're going to. And then when you actually go into the event, so let's say you're involved, you will see all the videos uploaded. Yeah? It's nice to meet you. Hopefully we have you should rest when you get 70. Wow,
I would really try to get.
And you said surgery today?
Yeah, so I'm posting it, but it's sort of like surgery
Yeah, it was nice to meet you. Yeah, I'd see you again. Yeah. Is that Stevens?